Imagine this, Kratos. Thinking about being the Norse god of war, he begins to try and figure out what he wants to do truly. Tries to figure out at his core who is he truly. So he decides, instead of going into Valhalla, he decides to actually take a trip on a boat. He begins to sail off into the sea, and he begins to think to himself, is this really the right place for him? Is this really an important thing to him? Should he truly become the god of war once again? He left that life behind, but now he's getting offered a chance to gain it once again, but in a different way. But during this time, while he's at sea, he begins to feel the waters tread, begins to feel the waters change, and as this mist would come over him, he would pass through this wall of uncertainty and this wall of mist that would stand in front of him, and he would immediately see a different place, a place that was so much different than any other place he's ever seen before. No longer in Greece, no longer in Midgard, no longer in the world of Norse mythology. He now is sailing forward to advanced cities, an advanced city that looks like it has buildings towering over everything, and Kratos is completely shocked. How did he get here? What is happening, and what is this world? Well, Kratos, welcome to the world of the boys, or the boys universe, where yes, Kratos will be dealing with a lot of interesting things, but I want to make one thing very, very clear. There is not a single person that can match up with the strength and power of someone like Kratos, so in terms of a fight, well, he would be the best of the best at them all. He would be able to defeat whoever he wants to and defeat whoever he pleases if he so chooses to do so, but that's not necessarily what we're going to talk about today. In this what if, and this idea of what if Kratos traveled to the boys universe, we got to talk about a multitude of things. Now for starters, we got to talk about the idea of him actually adjusting to this society and finding out why he was or traveled here even in the first place, on accident, on purpose, or to find some sort of purpose in his life. Well, he begins to try and adjust to this modern society, because this would be a challenge for Kratos. At the end of the day, he's come from a very mythological and medieval-like background, so adapting to a corporate, media-driven, morally ambiguous kind of world of the boys is gonna be completely different than anything he's possibly dealt with in the first place. On top of the fact that these people aren't the strongest in the universe and aren't the strongest beings ever, he is still dealing with a bit of hurdles, you can say. Gathering information the way he used to is not gonna cut it. Gathering information the way he once did in Norse mythology and or Greek mythology is not going to cut it. He was born into a world of warriors, born into a world of war. He was literally a Spartan warrior, and he was born in a totally different time. And now he is transported into a time where it's very modern, very advanced to a large extent, and they have a lot of things that nobody else in his world would even conceivably know of. So I could see him sailing in, maybe with his Leviathan X, and just approaching this world in an odd way. I mean, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people would want to see, him face off with people that have superpowers, people like Homelander and stuff like that. If he gets involved in those affairs, there is no superhero, no anybody that could truly take on an Olympian or a North-like god, formidable against those type of gods. He has just no limit in terms of his power. And I've talked about this before, and this isn't necessarily a power scaling video by any means, but Kratos arguably has infinite amounts of speed and his strength formidable enough to even face down some of the most foul and insane and hideous creatures known to man. Some creatures strong enough to even shatter the Yggdrasil. Yes, so there's definitely no comprehension of how strong this guy is compared to other people. I mean, he is thousands, if not an arbitrary number amount stronger than your Homelanders, your Black Noirs, your Queen Maeves, your Starlights and Victoria Newmans and whoever you want to talk about. he would destroy them all if that was the case and if that was needed. Now, some challenges, like I said, was adapting to the modern technology that he would have to deal with, especially with the world of the boys. But that's just the normal verse of the boys. That's the normal world we live in. It'd be like, what if Kratos was in today's society? And obviously there would be these challenges, but a big challenge would be the fact that everything is modernized. Everything is so much different. But the big thing in the boys, and the big thing that everybody talks about, is the media and public perception. These things are massive in the boys universe because everything, or for the most part everything, is staged to a certain extent, right? We are dealing with the world of the boys where superheroes aren't necessarily superheroes. These are fake superheroes that have kind of storylines built up for them, all for public media. And Kratos, well, he would have to deal with it all because initially Kratos would just be some normal dude, but soon he would probably get caught in the crossfire of some sort of stupid thing that would happen, right? Maybe some stupid hero thinking that he's better than what he truly is starts something, and something that Vought would eventually have to cover up. And instead of Kratos just watching it happen, Kratos shuts it down almost instantly. Let's just say, for example, Homelander is actually getting caught out in a bit of a catastrophe. Maybe Homelander destroys a power plant on accident or something like that. Or maybe a different hero does exactly that. Well, Kratos, if he's nearby it, would shut it down instantly. Would easily be able to defeat and or stop any hero or villain or whatever you want to think about it from doing what they were doing. But then what would end up happening is Kratos would end up taking the entire flack for it. They would somehow spin it, making maybe whatever superhero is there, if that's Homelander, for example, would be basically shown as the hero, someone who tried to stop this brand new villain, and they would vilify Kratos massively, calling him maybe like a terrorist, enemy of Vought, enemy of the United States in general. Look at the tattoos that string along him. Look at him, he's obviously some sort of technological or kind of genetic experiment that people have been testing, and he's obviously a weapon for war and stuff like that. Like, look, he has an axe, he has scars all over him, and blah 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 and blah blah blah, and that's how they would spin his actions as violent, destructive, turning this public sentiment against him. This person who basically nobody knew existed would basically be shown as this villain out of nowhere, and everybody else would be able to frame him very easily with Vought, especially if we're dealing with your Homelanders and stuff like that. They would frame him easily in the media as something basically Kratos knows nothing about, like, at all. Because at the end of the day, there is going to be challenges with technology and tactical adaptation in this world. Yes, Kratos is stronger than all of them, but he's not going to just be able to brute force his way through everything. And there's going to have to be tactical adaptation involved in this kind of universe that he's going to live in. And this is where I could see possibly him teaming up with the boys. Now, in terms of teaming up with the boys, well, he kind of is just thinking, I want to get out of here. Like, I want to leave because this is ridiculous. This world is ridiculous. And frankly, the boys, your Billy Butchers and your Mother's Milks and stuff like that are telling him, like, look, you can leave whenever you want, but just know that you're leaving this world which is massively corrupt to the kind of hands of these fake superheroes. I mean, you've already seen it. Kratos has already seen it, and Billy Butcher would make that very clear that he's already seen it. So imagine what he's leaving. He's going to leave basically them in a terrible situation, dealing with this horrible company in Vought, and also just horrible people in general who they deem as the Supes, right? Like, that's how they call them and how they talk about them. Kratos would probably reluctantly actually decide to help out, knowing that these people are, for the most part, like, brainwashed. So he's gonna have to protect these innocent people from this horrible disgusting world, and this is what it is, right? Yes, he's seen some horrible things, some disgusting people and some horrible looking creatures, but this world itself, the fact that they were able to spin something so quickly, almost like it was second nature, to make him look bad and kind of destroy who he currently is seen as a person, which basically was like a nobody. They turned basically a nobody into a wanted terrorist. So of course, this would be kind of his chance to understand this new world, kind of help out the boys, and also limit collateral damage that the civilians properly would go through. And this would be his way of learning more about this idea of being this new god of war. Because at one point, the god of war and what he was truly just that, the god of war, wanting to kind of embrace this war and this warfare side of the psychological and also actual physical warfare of the world. And that's what he was as a Greek god when he was the actual god of war. And maybe there's something to be seen, because Tyr was a different type of god of war, right? He was a different type of god of war that had a different type of mindset. And maybe Kratos is here to learn just that. This god of war mindset won't work here necessarily, but there are aspects of it that he can definitely think about. Think about what their next attacks are going to be. If that's kind of in the eyes of the citizens trying to attack that idea of who they are and kind of desecrate their idea of who Kratos is, which they've already done, obliterating everything that Kratos, basically building him up as a villain pretty quickly, just by kind of using the own superhero sabotage themselves and then flipping it on Kratos, even though Kratos was the one that was helping. So he would be forced into actually helping out the boys. And in terms of like front to back just fighting, I mean, this would be perfect. Having Kratos on the boys' side would give them a superpower far more comparable than even Homelander himself. But they're also trying to discover and figure out different things, trying to build up and shut down who Homelander really is. Because Homelander is not a good person, and all these other people, a lot of these superheroes, aren't good people. And I want to talk about some of these character interactions that maybe we could possibly see. For starters, him and Billy Butcher, they would not get along that well. Kratos would probably somewhat in some way respect him, but he wouldn't like him that much. In terms of Huey, he might see him very similar to maybe like his son, because he's very, innocent, and he's not really like a hardened criminal like Billy Butcher is. In terms of like people that he would absolutely hate, obviously Homelander would be up there, and many of these other superheroes that would, be on the very, very opposite side of what a superhero should be. Kratos would absolutely want to take them out. If that means killing them, then that means killing them. But extinguishing whatever control they have and whatever ideals they have on this society is a big thing that Kratos believes needs to happen. Because he's seen this before too, with a ton of people, or with high-level beings having followers, numerous followers to count, is a definite issue. I mean, we saw it with Odin, how the countless amount of people he had standing behind him, even though inherently, well, Odin was not a good person. Now, Homelander himself is not Odin. It's not even close to Odin. But at the same time, we still have to approach things in an interesting light, especially something like Kratos wouldn't be able to approach things the way that others would in terms of like the media and stuff like that. But Kratos does understand the idea of taming your anger and making sure that you don't kind of blow up a proportion that kind of would make things extremely bad, right? We've seen Starlight do this, which obviously Kratos would respect Starlight because she is pretty much a real hero. But in terms of like blowing up with your anger. She ended up doing that in the most recent season of The Boys, and it did cost them quite a bit. That she shouldn't have done that. She should have really stuck to the plan, but she kind of went off script and she lost her cool and was unable to control it, which is ironic to say that Kratos would know a lot about controlling his anger, because a lot of his power comes from his actual Spartan rage. And that is something that is I do find pretty damn funny to think about, but at the same time I could see him kind of helping them prepare for, well, actual war, or helping them prepare for an actual attack that they're going to have to do to eliminate these other superheroes that are really taking over. And we talked about Huey initially, about Huey basically being a kind of son-like type of figure for Kratos, but we do literally have Ryan. And Kratos would have a special place in his heart if he ever runs into Ryan and Homelander, because he knows what this is like. He knows what it's like to have a son, but also be extremely powerful, dealing with the issues that he had with Atreus, and dealing with kind of the idea of Atreus learning of their godhood, that they can do whatever they want because they're gods. And he would never and would definitely not want Ryan to follow in the footsteps of his actual father in terms of Homelander. He would not want Ryan to follow in those kind of ideas that, hey, like, I can do whatever I want because I'm strong and powerful. So maybe Kratos would be able to actually help with that, and maybe be able to kind of guide him in that right direction. And in terms of Ryan, flipping out on Kratos and killing him, that's not going to happen. So Kratos would definitely be able to get his point across, and, well, he would definitely be able to be a pseudo bodyguard in helping the boys, but also helping massively in changing the minds in some of the people who are still susceptible to actually flipping sides. And that's a big thing, especially with Ryan and dealing with some of these other people. But of course, if Kratos did travel to the boys' universe, there would be no issues, because, well, every superhero that needed to die or be gone forever, Kratos could handle him or handle them very, very easily. Like, we're talking easily. Him versus Homelander, which Homelander is like the strongest being there, isn't even close. Like, it's not even close. I did contemplate doing a video on why Kratos versus Homelander isn't even close, but I felt like it was so lopsided that there wasn't going to be much for me to talk about. So I just decided to talk about what would have happened if he actually entered the boys' universe, maybe traveling or some sort, which I think would allow him to learn a new kind of idea and a new thing involving this idea of warfare. Because, believe it or not, this superhero versus the boys is warfare. It is a type of warfare, and they use media quite a bit to really take a tactical advantage. And, well, this will be able to kind of connect with Kratos in terms of the masses, understanding the masses, delivering to what the masses want, but also delivering to the masses what they need. Something that, with the power vacuum of the Norse mythology, is going to need. So he's going to be able to learn quite a bit of things here in the world of the boys, but also he'll be able to shut down whatever hero corruption that is happening in this boys' universe with relative ease because of the strength he has. Even if when he travels to that world, everything he has in terms of strength resets. I genuinely believe that even a weaker version of Kratos like that still would be able to easily defeat the mass majority of supes and the mass majority of kind of just people in the boys' universe in general. And beginning of the game or reset Kratos is literally the weakest version of Kratos we could be talking about, and he'd still be able to easily defeat them all. But I would love to hear what kind of interactions you think Kratos would have if he traveled to the boys' universe. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this idea. And also would love to hear suggestions on what you would like to see in the future for future videos. It does help me because I always be running out of ideas. So if you want to see something specific, please let me know. If you want to see a specific comic for me to read and review and or kind of make my own little video on it, then let me know as well. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed this video, YouTube believes you'll enjoy this one, so might as well go check it out.